Welcome people to Gateway Learning Center YouTube platform. I'm your tutor Nathan. Today we're looking at biology under this title excretion. Looking at excretion today. So that is our area of interest for today. So excretion, now to differentiate excretion from digestion, don't confuse the two, but they almost perform the same functions but in a different manner. So excretion, we know that it is the removal of metabolic wastes from the body. Now that's a simple definition of excretion. Now, since you're dealing with the removal of something from the body, it means that the body cannot keep these wastes when they accumulate inside. So we're saying that these wastes, when they accumulate, cannot be managed by the body. Hence, they need to be excreted or to be removed. So examples of these wastes we're talking about, we have the common one, the CO2. We have urea or the uric acid. So these are some of the examples which we talk more about under excretion. So each waste has what you call the excretory product. So each specific excretory product in the body removes or excretes a specific type of its waste. So now we'll talk about the common one, the excretory products. We have talked about urea and carbon dioxide. Now let's talk about the excretory organs that helps us to excrete these products. So we'll focus much today on the kidney. The kidney is a very important organ in the body which performs a lot of functions, especially regarding with excretion. So we'll start looking at the external part of the kidney, then we'll be going into its internal bit by bit. So the kidney, let me come up with a diagram which will show how a kidney is placed inside the body and what is attached to it. Okay, so let me draw the diagram. So this is the diagram which we'll start looking at first, then we move from here to another diagram. So basically this is the diagram which shows how the kidneys are located in the body. Now look at the diagram, it is well labeled. We have these two kidneys which are like the shape of a bean and the size of a fist. Then the kidney, it has this part under excretion, it has no function because these are what you call the adrenal glands, which are normally used under the endocrine system when it's produce what you call the adrenaline hormone. Then we have the aorta. The aorta, which is the largest artery in the body, which carries oxygenated blood from the heart. So it brings now this blood to the kidney. Then from the aorta, we have this part which is called the vena cava. The vena cava is the one that removes blood from the kidney. So this part is taking blood away, and this part is bringing blood to the kidneys. Then the aorta has branched blood vessels which are called the renal artery. So the renal artery is coming from the aorta. Then also the vena cava has the branched blood vessel, which is called now the renal vein. From this part, we have these vessels which are looking like the lobes. They are called ureter. So ureter is responsible for transporting blood from the kidney into the bladder. Then the bladder will store this urine temporal before it's being excreted out via the urethra. So this is how the kidney, the outer model shape is. Then from here, let's now discuss the internal part of a kidney. Then we'll show and know how the nephron also is located. So let me draw another structure which will show now the detailed part of the internal part of the kidney. So this internal part of the kidney, it is only showing certain features. We have the pelvis, which is located almost on the center of the kidney. Then we have the ureter, the one which we drew in the first diagram. Then of course we have the renal vein and the renal artery with the same functions we mentioned in the first diagram. And now this time we have added the cortex and the medulla. So this part of the kidney now is the one which shows how now the urine is formed. You're looking at the urinary system in the mammalian animals. So within the medulla and the cortex, you're going to find that they are what you call now nephrons. Each kidney has about 1 million of nephrons. A nephron, which is a basic unit structure of the kidney. So now we'll discuss how the kidney is adapted for its function of excretion, how the urine is formed within the kidney. Then we'll talk about the types of nephrons which are found in the kidney. Some nephrons, they originate from the medulla direct into the cortex. Then some they are only located within the medulla. So the one which is located in the medulla is different from the one which is located and attached in the cortex. So their structures also shows their difference in terms of how they function. So this is structure of the kidney. Then inside the kidney, they are what you call the nephron. So the nephron now is the major part which will help us to explain how excretion takes place in a kidney. Then from there as well, we need to understand the types of the processes that takes place in the excretion part. So now let me come up with another diagram of a nephron. Then we'll start to explain what it does during the process of excretion. So this is the structure of a nephron. Now on this structure, this type, in the previous diagram which we looked at, in each kidney there are about millions of these in each kidney which perform a specific task or function within the excretion process. So this diagram now, it has different parts which do different types of excretion. So we'll start looking at the first part here. This part is called the afferent. the afferent end. Then this part here, it is called the efferent. End. So the one which brings blood to the nephron is called the afferent. Then this one which takes blood away is called the efferent. So because in the alphabet A starts, then E, so this is afferent. In terms of the structure, they differ. This one is wider compared to this one for a specific reason. Then inside here, we have what you call, we have what you call the glomerulus. The glomerulus. Then, of course, here you have the Bowman capsule. So this name originates from the person who discovered this process and what happens. Then just immediate from the Bowman capsule, we have what you call the proximal convoluted. Tube or tubely. Okay, then so proximal, it means it's coming from it's prox from this one. It is coming immediate from the Bowman's capsule. Then convoluted means a tube which is not straight, but it has been convoluted in different shape. Then here we have what you call the loop of Henle. The loop of Henle. Then of course from here we have the collecting duct. Then it has so many terminals where different types or other nephron can attach to. It means that in the collecting duct, it collects different substances from different nephrons. A nephron is a basic structure of a kidney. Then here, after the proximal convoluted, we also have what we call the distal. The distal also convoluted. Okay, we'll keep on labeling it as I'm explaining what happens. So when the blood comes from the renal artery, enters into the afferent end, it comes here and it goes there. Now this blood vessel, which is wider, when it comes inside the Bowman's capsule, it subdivides and reduces to smaller size of blood vessel. Then the one now that comes out of the Bowman's capsule becomes narrower compared to the one that brings now the blood to the Bowman's capsule. So what happens now is that this blood which is coming from the afferent end, it is coming here to remove the waste metabolic part, so that when it goes out, it goes a clean one. So now here, the blood which comes here will do what you call, so here there is what you call, let me put 1. So at one there is what you call pressure there is pressure filtration. So in the Bowman's capsule, this is where pressure filtration takes place. So pressure filtration now, how does it happen? So it happens like this. When the blood comes here, then inside the blood, there are some small substances that are able to pass through the selectively permeable membrane of these blood vessels and remain inside the Bowman's capsule. So some of the substances that are able to be which are able to be excreted from this blood, we have excess water, we have glucose, we have salt, we also have urea. So these and also of course some other minerals, these substances are able to pass through the permeable membrane, which is found here. And when these four substances remains here, they are going to form what you call now the glomerular filtrate. So the glomerular filtrate is a filtrate which is composed of urea, salt, glucose, and excess water. These are the ones that are able to form urine. Now, once these are being filtered out from the blood, then the other parts of the blood now will be able to come and pass through the efferent end. Some of the substances within the blood which are larger or which are larger molecules are not able to pass out or being able to be filtered out from the blood within the small partial membrane. So those substances which are able to remain within the blood vessel, we can talk about the blood cells, the plasma membrane, fibrinogen, and all those substances which are found in the blood. They cannot come out because they have larger molecules. But these which have been able to be filtered out, they have smaller molecules, hence they are being forced to come out from the blood and remain in the Bowman's capsule to form what you call the glomerular filtrate. So for them to move now, because there is a wider tube here, but here which is coming here is a narrower. So blood now will be pressured to enter into this efferent end. As a result, those small molecules, they are able to diffuse out and remain here. But those larger ones, they cannot come out, hence they will be pushed out and move with blood. So this now filtrate, which is comprising of these substances, urea, salt, glucose, and water, it will now start coming down into the proximal convoluted. So from here now, you'll find that this part now, it needs to come here. So to form, it's now forming the capillary. So these capillaries now, they are passing here. Okay, so something like this. But my diagram won't be as neat as I wanted this to be. So the capillaries now, they will be like that, passing within the proximal, the distal, the loop of Henle, all these parts until into the collecting duct here. So they will pass through. So these capillaries now, the reason why they are able to be also convoluted within or mixed within this tube is for the purpose of what you call reabsorption. So a point where the capillaries and this tube, the capillaries, let me change the color. Let me put them in the black one. So these in black, they are representing the capillaries. Okay. So even when they cross each other, there's no problem. Okay. So now, a point where um, this tube in green color and this one in black color are, are meeting here, like here, uh, here or here or here. In all these parts where they are meeting, we are saying that is where now selective reabsorption takes place. Remember, we said excess water, salts, glucose, and urea. Some of these substances which was filtered out from the blood at this stage are still needed by the body. The blood is still lacking, maybe in case the blood is still lacking water, the water balance of water is not okay, then this excess water should be selected and being reabsorbed back into the blood. Then also same to salts, and all the glucose will be reabsorbed back into the blood. In case of urea, urea now is the dangerous product, so it cannot be reabsorbed back into the blood. So from here now, what you are saying is that when this glomerular filtrate is moving in this direction, at this point now, at this point, you're going to discover that water will be excreted out. So water at this point now will be taken out by the process of osmosis from the same proximal convoluted tube. So water will be excreted out, hence the solution which is coming to the loop of Henle here, this solution is more salty because water is excreted out. Hence, this tube which is coming down here, it is permeable only to water. This tube, it is permeable only to water, meaning that um, other substances cannot be moved out at this point. So when it curves here to form a loop of Henle, then it goes up. The moment it starts going up, the permeability of this tube to water ends here. Then from here now, what will be excreted out now here will be sodium and chlorine or sodium chloride solution. So the salt which made this solution to be concentrated because it is lacking water, then in the other end, this part, it is not permeable to water, but it is permeable to sodium and chlorine. Hence, sodium and chlorine will be excreted out here. Then here it will be water. So sodium and chlorine will be excreted by the process called active transport. So it will keep on moving and goes to the another section, which is a diastole convoluted tubule. Now at this point now, the moment it ends here, this part now is also permeable to water depending with how the body needs water. So at this point, water also is being excreted out until we reach to the collecting duct. When there is too much water in the glomerular filtrate, you find that even at this level, water will be excreted out. Now, there is only one possibility that helps water to be excreted out when this filtrate reaches in the collecting duct. The only part which makes the collecting duct to be permeable to water, meaning that the only part that helps water to be excreted out at this level, is the presence of the hormone called the ADH. So this ADH is the hormone that comes from the pituitary gland in the brain. So in the brain. So the only way the collecting duct can be permeable to water, meaning that the only way the collecting duct can move water out of it from the solution is when the ADH is present. So minus the ADH, this part cannot be permeable to water. But the diastole converted tubuli will also be permeable to water when there is too much water in the urine, meaning that in the filtrate, than in the blood. But when the blood level is okay with its water it is containing, then this part won't be able to excrete or to remove water into it. Then, due to difference in concentration, because this part is excreting water, is excreting sodium and chlorine outside, you find that this region will be more concentrated than this part and than this part. Hence, this part will be forced now to release water from its solute or its filtrate into this part to balance the amount of water. So this is what happens in the nephron. Now, having that in mind, let me now erase this password. I can draw now a new one, then I label it with what is happening in the process. Okay, so this is the diagram now. This time I've just put the numbers. Since we have understood the first part, I've just put the numbers to simplify the diagram for easy and fast explanation on the same topic. Remember, this is a nephron where urine is formed. A nephron is found inside the kidney. Each kidney has so many nephrons, more than 1 million. So now this is the one we can use to explain in a very quickest possible way, so that you understand the whole concept of a kidney and how it performs its function. Then apart from this, we'll also explain in the next video the functions of the kidney, and then from there we'll talk about homeostasis. So for now, we end here. I'll post a video on the same one now in a fast explanation.